The Toyota Innova is among the most common cars in the Philippines. It's a multipurpose vehicle or MPV, and that is proven true in our country. You'll see it being used as a personal car, a family car, corporate cars, and even as taxis in the highlands of Baguio. So there's no doubt that the Innova has an established credibility. And here's the thing. It's my first time to drive the Toyota Innova, so come and ride with me as I uncover the things that make this car so popular. Because I guarantee you that this car is way better in actual experience. Quick thanks to Ryan Autodeal for allowing me to take this car for a spin. And if you guys are looking to buy a high quality used car, this is the place to be. This Toyota Innova is available at their dealership, and if you want to get a good price, simply use our code AUTOTUNE MEDIA so they'll know that you watched the video. I'll leave their details in the description below. Let's get started. It took me a while to appreciate the Innova. It has this unmistakable MPV shape that kinda looks not so handsome for me. But as years went by, the design grew on me. I started appreciating its purposeful shape and its simplistic exterior that kinda looks retro. Some would say that the Innova is an old man's car. So, does that mean I'm getting old? And we're now looking at the exterior of this 2022 Toyota Innova E-variant with an automatic transmission and a 2.8-liter turbo diesel engine. You know, this car is actually very familiar. Whoever you ask about the Toyota Innova, perhaps they already know how this car looks. And this being a base variant, there are no special exterior features in here, and instead what you have are only the essentials just to make the car roadworthy. So you have your halogen headlight, your signal light, and your fog lamp. There are no sensors in here as well at the rear bumper. So you have your Toyota Innova badging in here, the engine size, and the trim level, and you also have your halogen lights over here. You'll see that, you know, it has a streamlined shape, and later on you'll see at the interior that this design actually is very purposeful because the car is made very spacious and there are no compromises in terms of space in here, especially at the front passengers and at the second row seats. Well, of course, there will be some adjustments at the third row seats of the Toyota Innova, but you know, it is not every day when there is someone sitting at the third row seats. The shape of this car is really purposeful in that it is designed to accommodate passengers comfortably and to provide a very spacious cabin for your passengers. You have your signal lights in here. There is no keyless entry in here, and you also have your body color door handles. And by the way, this Toyota Innova comes with disc brakes at the front wheels and drum brakes at the rear wheels. And this car comes with 205/65 R16 highway terrain tires. And now, let's step inside this Toyota Innova to see more of its interior features. This being a base to mid variant, the Innova has a plain interior. It has this sloping dashboard and some bits of colors here and there, but it's mostly black plastic. The air conditioning controls are manual, and it has this old-looking infotainment system. The seats are fabric, but man, these are comfy. So we're now sitting at the driver's seat of this 2022 Toyota Innova, and first let's talk about its steering wheel. So as you can see, this one being a base variant, there are no special features or buttons that you can see here. That's why in the steering wheel you have just a few buttons in here. So you have your volume and your navigation buttons for calls, and your display button that you can use to navigate this very small LCD digital screen in here, and there are actually limited information that you can see here. Really just the bare essentials needed for you to know what's up with the car. At the left of the dashboard you have your tachometer, and at the right you have your speedometer. The dashboard actually has a nice swooping line over here, so it's kind of elevated over at the driver's side to accommodate the instrument cluster. You have a storage space in here which doubles as a cooler if you switch those aircon vents located over there, and you also have a small glove compartment. So this is the infotainment system of this Toyota Innova. So as you can see, it's very plain, similar to the entirety of its interior, but this one actually has some added features such as Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. However, you cannot access these features wirelessly. Instead, you have to attach your USB over here. Below this infotainment system, you have your aircon dials. So in here you have your vents, and then your fan speed and your thermostat. There are no digital controls as well for the air conditioning here, which personally I like these tactile controls because it kind of gives me the impression that I have more control over my air conditioning. And below that, this Toyota Innova actually has 3 driving modes. So you have your normal mode, you have your eco mode, and you also have your power mode. Unless you actually explore the buttons of the Toyota Innova, you cannot know that there are driving mode buttons over here, because normally in Toyota cars, driving modes are located over here. But you know, based on my personal experience with the Toyota Fortuner, which I daily drive, I don't actually use these driving mode buttons, because the eco mode tend to dampen the throttle feeling too much, whereas the power mode tend to make the throttle pedal so sensitive, hence making the car difficult to modulate in terms of speed. And when you look over here, you actually have quite a lot of space in here. You have a huge space in here wherein you can put your phone or your wallet, and you also have 2 more spaces in here, and I think this one could fit a small bottle or perhaps a small cup, and this one perhaps you can put some coins. And you also have a bottle or a cup holder over here, which is actually quite huge. And on top of that, you have your transmission lever. So this lever doesn't come with any button because this one is a gated automatic transmission, so you simply have to follow the trail of this transmission. So to put it in drive, simply push it like so, and to put it in manual mode, simply flick it to the left and you're now in manual mode, so you can shift like so. To put it back in park, simply push it like so and you're now in park. And another thing that I like about the Innova is that it comes with a handbrake lever, which makes it very easy to control, especially when you're driving uphill and you're coming from a full stop. This handbrake lever really helps a lot, even if when you're driving an automatic transmission. Looking at the center storage, you have a small slat in here. I don't know what you can put over here. And when you open this space, you have a small storage space in here to put some documents, wallets, or perhaps some snacks while you're driving. Look at the seat of the Toyota Innova. It comes with a fabric seat, and it has 2 textures in it. So you have this design texture at the center part of it, and you also have a very chunky texture over here. And actually these seats are very cushiony, it's very comfortable sitting on them. Looking at the doors of the Toyota Innova, you'll see that it's very plain looking as well. It's mainly black color, so you only have your soft touch material in here, covered with fabric, and everything else is plastic. And one thing that I forgot to mention is that the Toyota Innova comes with a cup holder or a bottle holder over at this side and over at the passenger side. However, this one is a bit shallow, so perhaps you cannot put a bigger bottle or a bigger cup in here. And if you want a space for bigger cups or bottles, perhaps you can use this space or the space here at the side of the door. And so here's my sitting position when driving the Toyota Innova. And when I'm driving a car, I want my legs properly stretched out, but still has enough bend to it for when I'm pressing the brake pedal.
and it also provides enough reach for me to, reach the gas pedal. And let's see how spacious it is at the rear passenger seats. So for your reference, I am 5'9", and here is my seating position. And now at the rear passenger seat, you'll see that I still have a lot of legroom in here, and I can really move freely while sitting. And the seats are actually very comfortable in here as well. More comfortable than the counterpart of this, which is the Toyota Fortuner. And since we're at the rear seats, let's see if there are some creature comforts in here. So you have some hooks in here, perhaps to put your plastic bags after you go to the grocery store. And you also have an outlet in here for your phone charger. You also have aircon vents in here and the fan speed for the aircon vent. And now let's talk about the third row seat of this Toyota Innova. So this one being a base variant, it doesn't have an automatic lifting tailgate, and instead you have just a button over here which you should press for you to open it. But this door isn't very heavy, so it isn't too bothersome. And similar to the Toyota Fortuner, the third row seats of the Innova are only folded like this. And if you want to avail more space in here, you have to lift them up like this. And you simply have to latch this provided hook over here. And if you notice here, you have an extra headrest for you to put at the middle of these two seats for a third passenger at the third row seats, which I doubt the third row seat could accommodate 3 passengers, right? And yeah, there's that. Oh, it also has bottle holders here and here. And there you have it. That's the third row seat, or the luggage space of the Toyota Innova. Let's now take this car for a drive to see how it performs on the road.
Despite the existence of the Zenix, which is an evolution and a techier model that is intended to replace the Innova, the latter is still offered in Toyota dealerships because it has one thing that the Zenix cannot match, and it's the venerable 2.8-liter turbo diesel engine. And I think that this is one of the main selling points of the Toyota Innova. This engine is so torquey that it can pull the car from 40 kph all the way to highway speeds in 5th gear.
And we're now inside this 2022 Toyota Innova E-variant with a 2.8-liter turbocharged diesel engine and a 6-speed automatic transmission. So the Toyota Innova is well known here in the Philippines for its wide range of purposes. You can see Innovas used by families or for personal car, and you can also see Toyota Innovas used in corporate setting or corporate purposes, right? And the Toyota Innova is also known for its torquey engine. But upon riding this car, I discovered a lot about it, especially in terms of its performance. Actually, this is my first time driving a Toyota Innova, and all the information that I know about the Toyota Innova were obtained by just reading online articles or watching reviews. But you cannot really know a car unless you experience it firsthand, and that's what we're doing right now. And first, let's talk about its engine. And as I mentioned, this Toyota Innova comes with a 2.8-liter turbocharged diesel engine. This diesel engine is the same engine used by top-of-the-line Toyota Hilux and top-of-the-line Toyota Fortuners. And in the Toyota Innova, you'll get this 2.8-liter turbo diesel engine in its lower variant, such as this one. Well, of course, even though the vehicles I mentioned share the same engine with the Toyota Innova, they have a different tuning than this one. The engine of this Toyota Innova was tuned to have great amount of torque at a very low speed. And so right now we are crawling on a heavy traffic here in Angeles City, Pampanga at an average speed of about 20 kilometers per hour. And I switched the car to sports mode, and now we're in 4th gear at 20 kilometers per hour. And as you can see, the car is still pulling, or the engine is still pulling the car. That's how torquey the engine is. So we're still at 30 kilometers per hour, and I'm gonna try to upshift to 5th gear, and it went into the 5th gear, and now we're gonna try to accelerate, and it's accelerating. this engine is very torquey. And if you're driving a different car with an automatic transmission, I'm pretty sure that even if you flick it into the manual mode, the car won't allow you to put it in fifth gear at 20 or 30 kilometers per hour. But the Toyota Innova allows you to do so. Well, of course, it's not good practice, but for the sake of this review, we're trying to prove how torquey the engine is. And the transmission allowing you to put it in a higher gear at a low speed only proves the main purpose of the Toyota Innova, which is great amount of torque way below the rev range. And even though the Toyota Innova has a lot of torque at the lower spectrum of its rev range, it has a very wide power band. You can lag the engine in this car, and at the same time, you can also bury your foot in it and allow it to climb at a higher rev. And the car still has a lot of power to give, a lot of torque to give. And every time you press the throttle pedal, the engine complies, and you will really feel the sensation that the car is pulling you. And what I also like about these GD engines of the Toyota is that they are very refined in terms of how you feel them when you're driving, especially considering that this is a diesel car. In some diesel cars, such as the Mitsubishi Montero Sport that we already reviewed before, and the Chevy Colorado that we also reviewed before, you can feel the engine's grunt when you're inside the cabin, especially when at a lower speed like this. Here in the Toyota Innova, yes, you can hear the engine, but you can feel it ever so slightly. And the sensation is very muted in terms of how the engine's noise and vibrations penetrate into the cabin of this car. Even though this 1GD engine is detuned so as it has less horsepower than the Toyota Fortuner with the same 2.8-liter engine, this car doesn't feel lacking in terms of torque, in terms of horsepower, because as I mentioned, the torque is given to you on demand. Whenever you press the throttle pedal, you will feel the engine pulling you. I'm the type of person who likes good driving cars, and I'm willing to let go of the lack of features inside the car for as long as the drive feels so refined. And as you saw in our interior review a while ago, this Toyota Innova actually has less features. It has manual dials for the air conditioning and a slightly antiquated infotainment system. But I'm willing to forget those things because the ride inside and the engine tuning is very refined.
Complementing the torquey 2.8-liter diesel engine is the 6-speed automatic transmission that is mechanically well designed. The gear ratios are spot on, allowing the Innova to maximize its torque. Yes, it isn't as smooth as other cars, but it works surprisingly well.
This Toyota Innova comes with a 6-speed automatic transmission. And this being a 7-seater SUV, I can say that the transmission is perfectly tuned for this car, which we already proved because of the availability of torque way down below. And I think the availability of torque and this car having a lot of grunt way below the rev range is partly just because of the engine tuning. The transmission also shares a huge part on that, overall driving feel of the Toyota Innova. And what I also like about newer Toyota models, which all share the same platform, such as, the Hilux, the Innova, the Fortuner, is that the transmission in these cars is spot on. When I say spot on, I mean in terms of the gear ratio. You won't feel the transmission hunting for gears. In some automatic cars, when you put the car in manual mode, shifting it manually feels so weird, right? Because of the far ratios between each gears. What I like about these newer Toyota models is that the gear ratios are properly spaced out from each other so that it doesn't feel weird when you're driving it manually. And you will benefit from that proper spacing of gear ratios when you're driving this Toyota Innova, uphill or downhill. In some automatic cars, the first gear is too short, or in some cars, the first gear is too tall. In these cars, specifically in this Toyota Innova, they hit the right spot in each gear. In terms of the sensation of the transmission, I won't say that it's smooth. Yes, you will feel some jolts in it, but those jolts are properly dampened. The transmission of this Innova isn't so smooth, but very far from clunky. The best way I think to describe it is that you will feel it mechanically. But you're inside the Toyota Innova. It's a multi-purpose vehicle or an MPV designed to seat 7 people comfortably. But it's far from being a luxury car. And in this setup, the engine and the transmission combination will provide you a nice driving sensation when you're driving the Innova, whether by yourself or, fully loaded with 6 more people inside the cabin.
Another thing that makes the Innova a good all-rounder is its suspension. The ride is comfortable whether you're a driver or a passenger. I didn't expect the Innova to have this kind of ride because in my mind, it's an MPV and it's supposed to have a rigid suspension. And honestly, a ride that's a bit rougher than this would have been acceptable for me. Not that I'm compromising, but I just know how to manage expectations.
And lastly, let's talk about the handling, the suspension, and the braking of this Toyota Innova. And first, let's talk about the braking. So this car comes with 2 disc brakes at the front wheels and drum brakes at the rear wheels, right? Actually, it shares the same braking setup as my Toyota Fortuner, which is my daily driver. And I actually don't feel these brakes lacking in terms of stopping power. I actually like the braking sensation of these Toyota vehicles. Whenever I'm driving a car, I like cars that have a higher biting point in terms of braking. And similar to my Toyota Fortuner and similar to the Toyota Fortuner that we've driven before and the Toyota Hi-Ace that we've also driven before, this Toyota Innova has the same braking feel. And this is just a tiny detail that I noticed also in the previous Toyota vehicles that I've tried before, is that especially when you're driving an automatic transmission, when you're at a standstill and you release the brake, sometimes there are cars that don't lunge forward immediately. But the Toyota Innova, as soon as you release the brake pedal, the car will start pulling. But of course, the pull of the car is just enough to, put the vehicle in motion, which eliminates the need for you to step on the gas pedal, which contributes significantly to the driving comfort, especially when you're driving the car in heavy traffic. And what I also notice about it is that there is fluidity with the movement of the car. So you release the brake pedal, the car sets in motion, you press the gas pedal, and then off you go in a very, very smooth manner. And now let's move on to the handling of this Toyota Innova. And this car comes with a hydraulic power steering. And so naturally, there is some heft to the, handling feel of the vehicle. It isn't heavy, but if you're used to driving an electronic power steering vehicle, you'll find this very heavy. It just takes some time for you to familiarize yourself with it, or for your muscles to, get accustomed to the amount of effort needed to turn the steering wheel from left to right. One thing that I like about hydraulic power steerings is that they give you a nice feedback. The Toyota Innova sits lower on the ground despite it having a ladder frame chassis. And so there is less body roll in this car, noticeably less body roll in this car. This is seldomly mentioned in Innova reviews, but the ride comfort in this car is what you won't expect in a vehicle like this. I can say that it has a very good ride, and honestly, I like the ride of this car more than the ride of the Toyota Fortuner. And I even like it more than the ride of the Mitsubishi Montero Sport that we tried before. Well, apples to oranges, but sometimes you cannot help but compare the cars that you previously tested, and it still makes sense to compare these vehicles because after all, these are all 7-seater vehicles. Road vibrations are properly damped in this car. The ride is refined for what it is. A ride that's a bit rougher than this would still be acceptable for me, considering where this Toyota Innova is positioned in terms of pricing. It actually exceeded my expectations in terms of its ride, in terms of the comfort provided by the car. I won't say that I'm blown away by this Toyota Innova, close to that. because of the great contrast in my expectation and in my actual experience of this car. There is a huge difference from what you expect and from what the car provides as an experience to you when you're driving it. I like bulky cars, I like boxy cars, and the Innova doesn't tick those requirements of mine. But I'm one who is very nitpicky in terms of, the driving feel of the vehicle, and I put great importance in the driving feel more than the features, the interior features of a car. And I can say that, yeah, despite the Toyota Innova lacking in terms of tech and creature comforts inside, those things are just complementary to the overall package of a vehicle, right? And I can say that despite the lack of advanced creature comfort features inside the Toyota Innova, it more than makes up for those shortcomings by the driving experience of it. It's a very nice car. I like the overall driving feel of the Toyota Innova. The engine transmission combination, the handling, the braking, and the suspension. And honestly, I have no complaints about the Toyota Innova. Well, of course, some people will have different opinions than mine, but in my way of driving, the Toyota Innova hits the perfect spot for me.
And there you have it, folks, the Toyota Innova. As you already know, I had a great time driving this car because all my curiosities about it were answered. And I think that that's the best part of every car review that I make. I also admitted that I like the Toyota Innova because it exceeded my expectations. At the same time, it matches my driving style. But to some of you, this is not the best car for your hard-earned money because of its lackluster features and a slightly higher pricing. And I respect that. But for me, driving dynamics bear more weight than techy features, and that's the reason why the Toyota Innova suits my taste. This has been Enzo from AUTOTUNE. Till next time.